Just a quick book placement, product placement for my books under the author named Derek Hemingway. First, we have the first installment in The Human Saga, which is my epic trilogy of novellas about a future civilization of corporate fascism that is being invaded by an alien cult. We have The Mortician's Daughter, a dark fantasy set in Mesoamerica about a sorceress who blocks out the sun to create a kingdom of darkness and evil, full of ghosts and monsters. It's fucking awesome. Part 2 of The Human Saga, and then Part 3. There's currently my first full-length novel in the works, so be on the lookout for that. That's about all. Song Snob Reacts. Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. This is Nathan Song Snob. And we're gonna do some videos that were suggested by some commenters. Oh, and by the way, my reaction to Was ich lebe by Rammstein has been officially blocked. And I'm not sure what to do about that at the moment. I'm going to see if I can't try to get that to you in a form that you guys can see. So stay tuned for that. But, yeah, it's just the usual YouTube algorithms, like blocking you on behalf of a shareholder or whatever, based on, like, the status. What's a reactor to do? But today we're reacting to, MF Doom cellz. Something someone recommended because of my lyrical analysis habit and phase. Well, it should be interesting, although I'm not sure what to expect from this. It better not be anything like that Lulu crap that like Metallica did. Dear God. Couldn't stand it if it was fucking Lou Reed. Anyway, let's get into it. Here we go. MF Doom cellz in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and go.
Born like this, into this, as the chalk faces smile, as Mrs. Death laughs, as political landscapes dissolve, as the oily fish spit out their oily prey. We are born like this, into hospitals which are so expensive that it's cheaper to die, into lawyers who charge so much it's cheaper to plead guilty, into a country where the jails are full and the madhouses closed, into a place where the masses elevate fools into rich heroes. Born into this, walking and living through this, dying because of this, castrated, debauched, disinherited because of this. The fingers reach toward an unresponsive God. The fingers reach for the bottle, the pill, the powder. We are born into the sorrowful deadliness. There will be open and unpunished murder in the streets. It will be guns and roving mobs. Land will be useless. Food will become a diminishing return. Nuclear power will be taken over by the many. Explosions will continually shake the earth. Radiated men will eat the flesh of radiated men. The rotting bodies of men and animals will stink in the dark wind. And there will be the most beautiful silence never heard. Born out of that. The sun hidden there, awaiting the next chapter.
Doom from the realm of El Kaloum, smelly gel fume, separating cell womb to Melly Mel, boom, revelations in braille, respiration in hell view, nations fail and shaking of a snake tail, make do, blazing swords, trays the haze, praise the Lord, saving grace, lace your broad, she say she bored, a crazy straw, ink and stale, dry paraffin, candy corn crap rappers pale by comparison. A bad Samaritan averaging above average men. Rancid rants having, rambling savages scavenging for scraps, perhaps roadkill. If that, gift a gab, and he flowed ill, chrome stiff hat. Known for writing lightning tight lines. Chief and beefing, being off deep ends, divine, bright shines even. Dimes, quiet as minds, by design, mighty fine. Slight rewind, tightly bind, blind, lead blind. Need minds now, that was this is then. Listening to sizzling, official tens, whispering him again. Metal face finster, playing with the dirty money. Sinister, don't know what he's saying, but the words be funny. Major vet, spaded through the vest with a bayonet. Save your breath, gave a F, pay your debt, they forget. Make us sweat bullets, crime pays no benefits. Then it gets wilder with more childish and degenerates.
3,000 years ago, Moses said, every human being is responsible for his action, for that being is still a beast, not yet human.
Yodel at your uncle flows, my motorcycle trunk fools. From 2-1 to 1, loose crumbs to chunks and bundles. Hands down, better than what your mans used to get. Standing around for where the translucent, lucid spit. Missing wheel, you don't listen, you a field head. Sitting in the kitchen, pissing, twitching, kissing steel lead. Crime pays no dental, no medical, unless you catch retirement, county, state, or federal. You heard like roaring waters in a seashell. If a tree fell, you couldn't tell from 3-cell. Be real careful, they tellin' by the airful. Kids doing skid bids, acting out as terrible. Word is bond, fix your clothes, put a shirt on. Pants sagging back when used to meant you had a skirt on. Squirts posing as thuggers and hustlers. El Elo closer than y'all's ball huggers and jugglers. Motherfuckers.
Doom is transmitting a message to you. Super fools!
I need to use more power!
Was that a Super Friends clip at the end? This has got to be the weirdest rap artist I've ever heard. At first I thought this was some spoken word crap, and actually it kind of is. It kind of is some spoken word crap. It's a little bit of both. I suppose the two are closely related in some way. Well, rap is tolerable, spoken word not so much. Unless it's Megadeth. I'm okay with like Megadeth spoken word tracks. Some of which are actually kind of clever. Like Recipe for Hate, World Needs a Hero, Dawn Patrol. And for some reason, Dave Mustaine decided to do Dawn Patrol in a British accent for reasons beyond my understanding. But generally speaking, I would say that... yeah, I'd say this was pretty solid. Okay, I suppose. It's just very, very strange. It affected me the way a lot of Stravinsky affects me, a classical musician. He uses a lot of unpleasant, clashy, and disgusting chords that sound super gross. And he actually caused a riot in France when he debuted his piece, Rite of Spring. A lot of the time you listen to Stravinsky, it's like, you think to yourself, do I like this? And this kind of affected me in the exact same way. It's like, do I like this? It's like, these are some really nasty sounding chords. Like, ugh. I do not like the sound of these chords or this music. It is very unpleasant. But I'm assuming that given the subject matter of the song and the lyrics, that was probably the intent. This is less about musical form and more about communicating a certain feeling. A feeling of just pure ick. And I definitely think it gets that point across. I would not want a steady diet of music like this. I would not. It would drag me down emotionally like so hard. It would not even be funny. And I do not need that right now. But if that is indeed its aim, then it certainly achieves that. You know, take it or leave it. Take it as what it is. Musically speaking, it is not the most robust. It's got a bass and a rhythm, and I think the lead melody is carried by the vocals. Well, melody by the vocals. The vocals takes the place of a lead melody. So on level of robustness, this is very average. Very average number of sections in the song. And hey, there really aren't any chorus repeats or repeated words. This is just a number of phrase after phrase after phrase. Just different phrases. And in terms of just pure personal taste, I don't like it. In terms of pure personal taste. But in terms of the meritocracy I normally evaluate music on, based on robustness, and length and substance within length and repeats and so forth, this is pretty well structured. I would almost argue that it's almost too structured, but that's not necessarily a bad thing. Huh. I don't know, maybe 3.5. Yeah, I'd say probably about 3.5 or 3.5. Like I said, it's just not quite robust enough. You got a rhythm and a bass segment to the song, but there's no genuine sort of lead melody that's not really very musical. Well, I mean, it is partly spoken word, so I think I can sort of forgive that the spoken word takes place. It's more of a style than a criticism. So I'm gonna leave this at more like a 4, just for lack of robustness in terms of sections. It needs more. It needs a great deal more to sound more complete. So that's about a 4. Now, of course, for my lyrical breakdown of this fucking weird ass song. Charles Bukowski. Born like this into this, as the chalk faces smile, as Mrs. Death laughs. Ha 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 ha! As political landscapes dissolve, as the city fish spit out their oily prey. Or as the oily fish spit out their oily prey. So, basically saying that we're born into a world of pollution and dissolving political landscapes. Yeah, that sounds pretty familiar. I think we can all pretty much say that sounds familiar at this point. Chalk faces, I'm assuming that's like faces covered in dust. Dust and ash. Mrs. Death? We are born like this, into hospitals which are so expensive that it's cheaper to die. Into lawyers who charge so much it's cheaper to plead guilty. Into a country where the jails are full and the madhouse closed. Into a place where the masses elevate fools into rich heroes. Well, a lot of that is actually not from the cause that most people assume. It is cheaper to die and it is cheaper to plead guilty, but not for the reasons you think. The typical socialist line is though, oh, it's greed, it's greed, it's greed. But they don't understand basic economics. You can't actually just arbitrarily set prices whenever and wherever you like. If you did that, you would go out of business. Nobody would buy your product. Okay? Prices are a negotiation. The money it takes for a business to stay in business, and the money it takes for it to be affordable for you. So it's actually somewhere in the middle. It's never too expensive or never too inexpensive. It's right where it ought to be. That's basic economics, motherfucker. Read some Tom Sowell. And as for hospitals, generally speaking, it's because of health insurance companies literally being able to set arbitrary prices and therefore forcing hospitals to have the situation where they have a price master. Their price master shows the arbitrary prices set by the insurance companies. if the insurance companies were not so involved for medical insurance, then the price of any hospital services would be set the same way as any other price. The amount of money needed for the hospital to stay open and the amount of cheapness needed for you to be able to afford it would determine the price. It's a little economic sandwich. So that's generally how it is. And lawyers are often very expensive. That one I think might actually be greed. I'm not sure. The madhouses are closed and the jails are full. Well, yeah, there's a lot of things in this country that get punished that honestly should not be punished. And they do close down a lot of mental hospitals, which really should not be closed down because a lot of these people really do need help. Just because they're vaguely functional in society does not mean they need to be let out. They need to stay in where they can be monitored and taught how to manage their condition better before they're released. But sadly, it's just easier to let them go. And we do sometimes elevate fools into rich heroes. That is very true. That's why I don't really elevate celebrities and celebrity status. If you're a celebrity or famous person, I don't like you because of what you do. I like you as a human being. I will like you for who you are. That being said, I'm actually a big fan of guys like Keanu Reeves and William Shatner. They have people who do charitable work and are actually very intelligent. And also very funny. Dying because of this, castrated, debauched, disinherited because of this. The fingers reach toward an unresponsive God. The fingers reach for the bottle, the pill, the powder. Yes, an unresponsive God. Well, you know the classic atheist argument, if God doesn't exist, then his lack of responses is something we should expect to see. And that is a solid argument. Very true. And you know, people addicted to substances reaching for the bottle or the pill or the powder. A lot of people are addicted to a lot of different substances. That is true. I am basically hopelessly addicted to caffeine. I've never drank any caffeinated beverage shotgun, although I know some people who have. Yeah, it is a terrible habit, and one I unfortunately have been unable to break. Because you're not just dealing with the withdrawal, you're also dealing with the fact that your brain has become dependent on stimulation from caffeine to function. So you're dealing with withdrawal and severe depression of your the regions of your brain that handle stimulation and mental activity. Those parts of your brain become depressed because they're not receiving stimulation because they got used to using caffeine to receive stimulation, which it also blocks your sleep-related hormones. So when you stop caffeine, you got withdrawal and your stimulation, and you can't receive sufficient stimulation. So all you can literally do is just lie on your couch and moan because your brain can't focus on anything because it's literally exhausted. So yeah, addiction is a bitch. We are born into the sorrowful deadliness. There will be open and unpunished murder in the streets. It will be guns and roving mobs. Land will be useless. Food will become a diminishing return. Nuclear power will be taken over by the many. Explosions will continually shape the earth. Radiated men will eat the flesh of radiated men. The rotting bodies of men and animals stink in the dark wind. And there will be the most beautiful silence never heard. Born out of that, the sudden hidden there, awaiting the next chapter. Damn! On one hand, that sounds an awful lot like a depiction of Ragnarok or the Kali Yuga, and on another hand, that sounds a lot like a depiction of the Fallout universe. Neither of those is an attractive option, believe me. There will be open and unpunished murder in the streets. It will be guns and roving mobs. Land will be useless. That sounds like the Axe Age or Axe Time, as spoken of in the myth of Ragnarok in the Poetic Edda, where it's sword time, axe time, brother against brother, no morals will exist, and nations will be destroyed toward the end of the world. Or rather, I should say the end of the world as we know it, since a new world will rise up out of the ashes. New life from death. That sounds an awful lot like something resembling Axe Time or the Axe Age. Nuclear power will be taken over by the many. Well, that does sound a little bit like a kind of socialist approach to nuclear power, which is weird to me because most of the modern socialists are actually against nuclear power in favor of renewables. So that's kind of an interesting line. Not sure what to make of that. Explosions will continually shape the Earth. Well, yeah, the impact of explosions will cause land deformation, calcification of rocks. The whole shape of the Earth will be changed. It won't even be the same Earth as a result. Radiated men will eat the flesh of radiated men. So, ghouls. The rotting bodies of men and animals stink in the dark wind. Yeah, that's just, the death and decay. And there will be the most beautiful silence never heard. That right there is my favorite line. And there will be the most beautiful silence never heard. That is, with all the other lyrics grotesque as they are, that is actually extremely beautiful. And there will be the most beautiful silence never heard. Silence is beautiful because that's when the air isn't filled with ugliness, pain, and suffering. That's when it's just filled with the empty void waiting to be filled. And that in itself is quite beautiful. The silence never heard because there's no one around to hear it. Everything will be beautiful when we're all gone, is what they're saying. That's basically Siegfried's ending from Soul Calibur 4. Born out of that, the sun hidden there, awaiting the next chapter. Again, that sounds an awful lot like the myth of Ragnarok. Born out of that, the end of the world, the new sun rises, the earth rises, and they await the next chapter. Baldur returns, Baldur comes back, all that. Not to get religious here, but that's just what I got out of that. And now here comes the actual rap artist. Doom from the realm of I-Khatum. What's I-Khatum or El Khatum? Smelly gel fume. Separating cell womb to melamel boom. Revelations in Braille respiration inhale view. Nations fall and shaking of a snake tail make do. Blazing swords trace the haze, praise the Lord. Saving grace, lace your broad, she say she bored. A crazy straw, ink and stale dry paraffin. Candy corn, crap wrappers, pale by comparison. A bad Samaritan averaging above average men. So he's basically just talking about inhaling dust from explosions, and talking about poisonous society and behavior. I think the most clever line was that last one, a bad Samaritan average above average men. So a bad Samaritan, meaning someone who takes rather than gives, is average above average men. So if that's above the average, then what's worse than that? Holy shit. Like, he's describing a horrible time, a horrible future. I don't think I want to see that. I don't think you want to see it either. Boy, we better behave ourselves. Rancid rants having rambling savages scavenging for scraps, perhaps roadkill if that. Gift of Gab and he flowed ill, chrome stiff hat. Known for writing lightning tight lines, chiefin, beefin, being off deep ends, divin, bright shines even. Dimes quiet as mimes by design mighty fine, slight rewind, tightly blind, lead blind. Need minds now that this was then. His rhyme scheme is a unique mix of traditional rhymes and limerical flow. I really like that he kind of mixed that together. That's clever. When you can get both of those going at the same time, that is powerful. This guy's a really good rap artist and a really great poet. I can see that now. Doom is awesome. Listen to sizzling officiations whispering him again. Metal-faced Finster playing with the dirty money. Sinister don't know what he's saying about the words be funny. Major vet spaded through the vest with a bayonet. Save your breath, give a F, pay your debt, they forget. Make her sweat bullets, crime pays no benefits. Then it gets wilder with more childish Childish or degenerates. Childisher? That's not even a word! That is not even a fucking word right now. But then again, William Shakespeare, a great poet, literally invented the word downstairs and therefore upstairs. Prior to him, that word did not exist. So back then they could have said, well, that's not a word. And now it is. I suppose this is how language evolves. So I kind of wanted to take a point away for that, but then I had to remember, like, Shakespeare did it too. And it's painfully obvious that Doom is a great lyricist and poet. Clearly. So if I'm being entirely fair, I can only say one thing about this. This man is a great poet. Rap is poetry more than it is music. And this basically proves that. So musically, the song sucks, honestly. It's just not very robust. There's not enough sections. I suppose 4 out of 5 is still pretty good. That's better than a lot of pop music. I can forgive the ugly chords. That's not really part of my criteria. And it is achieving what it aims to achieve, which is the ugly feeling of a horrifying future, the picture he's trying to paint. I don't know if his pessimistic view is justified, but somewhere in the back of my mind, I'm thinking like it probably is. Lyrically, this is an easy 5 out of 5. This is an absolutely brilliant rhyme scheme. He literally just invented a word as ridiculous as the word itself sounds. Childisher. This is just incredible. I don't necessarily like the style it was done in of mixed spoken word and rap. I don't really like that, and I think the chords are ugly. But for what it is, this is a damn near perfection. Lyrically, it's amazing. Musically, it's only good. Right? It could have been much better. You could have added a little extra percussion, a few more drums underneath the bass section. You could have dropped the bass a little more. And you probably also could have added some echo effects to make it sound a little more robust. But, it's not terrible. There's so much more worse out there. Basically anything written by Yoko Ono. or Little Nas X. Well, yeah, so there you go. That's MF Doom. That was quite an experience. With that being said, there will be a link in the description down below to my books. Please buy, download, read them, and as always, choose peace.